can I ask one other very small question? Basically, do feelings always follow thoughts? Or do thoughts sometimes follow feelings?
Well, the thought is the reason for the vibration, and the feeling is the response to the mix. In other words, if your inner being weren't thinking, then any thought you thought would be without feeling. Because what the feeling is the indication of the blending or the not of the thought of Source and you. In other words, it's a relational thing. So if Source were not thinking, then you could think anything without feeling. But because the larger part of you is thinking, is vibrating, then your vibration matters because it has a relationship. So the vibration of Source and the vibration of you, which is to say the thought of Source and the thought of you, are the reason for the emotion. Because the emotion is about the relationship between those two vibrations. So if you're thinking like Source thinks, you feel appreciation and love and frisky and passion. If you're not thinking if you're loving, you're in agreement with Source. If you're hating, you're not. If you're loving yourself, you're in a total agreement with Source. If you're hating yourself, you're not. In other words, so yes, the emotion always follows, but it's hard to tell what came first because the thought, the feeling, the thought, the feeling, the thought, the feeling. In other words, you can't stop thinking and you can't stop feeling. So it really doesn't matter very much what got there first. What matters is that how you feel is the indicator of whether you're blending or not. So logically speaking, if you find yourself feeling negative emotion, your logic tells you, I'm not thinking a thought like Source thinks. Maybe I should try to think about this like Source is thinking about it. And we say, good idea, just not always possible, because thought that Source is offering is very high-minded, very pure thought. In other words, Esther, more than once, has been very irritated with us because we won't come down and think with her. It'd be a lot easier, Abraham, if you weren't so pure in your thought. Won't you join me just a little bit in my negative thought? Won't you just give me a break? And we never, ever do. Because there has to be, someone has to be setting the vibrational standard, in other words, and the Source within you is. So that's what we said to you earlier. Go general. Go general. If you get general in your thought, it's easier for you to let go of the intensity of what's holding you apart from the Source within you. Jerry and Esther had dinner with friends last evening who said, and Jerry and Esther talked about it several times today, they have something that they frequently say to each other that says, oh, that's irrelevant. That's just irrelevant. That has no relevancy to me. And it's a way of softening. It's a way of deactivating. It's a way of making a cumbersome, resistant, not good-feeling thought less active. Esther commonly says, I don't have to think about that right now. Or I'll think about that later. I don't have to think about that right now. Just anything that she can do to release the vibrational activeness. When we come back from segment of refreshment, we will start by talking about when you think a thought, the thought vibrates. When you stay focused upon it, it vibrates stronger until soon you have a thought that's not just active, you have a thought that's dominant. And when you have thought a thought long enough that it's a dominant thought, it becomes a belief, which means it's easy to keep thinking just because it's a vibrational habit. So we want to suggest to you, and your powerful question really puts it in perfect context, that it's easier to stop thinking altogether than it is to take a thought that you've been thinking for a long time and take it to another place. Now that's what we meant earlier when we were talking about all those possible thoughts that are out there that you could sort out and sift out and put into piles and decide which ones you want, which would take you longer than you've got, way longer than you have. Or you can listen to something that causes you to breathe and causes you to release thought, which allows your vibration to naturally move to a new place, and then let that new vibration be the reason for the thought you're thinking. Now, aren't you proud of the question you ask? That was just such a magnificent question. Because in that situation, if you put in your earphones, if you listen to the music, if you breathe yourself into alignment, if you breathe yourself into the releasing of resistance, as you're releasing thought, no longer doing that thing you're doing that's keeping you in resistance, your vibration will raise. And when your vibration raises, your point of attraction will bring to you thoughts that match. So which is right? Which is the right answer? Both are true, but which is the right answer? Well, Abraham, I think that what you're saying is I should think less and feel more and let my vortex train me into a frequency that will deliver meaningful thoughts. Yes. Good time for a segment of refreshment.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.